Chapter 12. Robert rummaged through the dusty crates in an equipment room, his fingers coated with a fine layer of grime. He muttered sarcastic quips to himself while Ace hovered nearby. Ah yes, nothing like a vintage laser cutter to tie the whole intergalactic vigilante aesthetic together. Robert examined the outdated tool with fascination and disgust. Mr. Fannec, Ace chastised. Our resources may be limited, but we mustn't lose focus on our objective. We have 3 warehouses to choose from, each with its challenges. Fine, fine. Robert tossed the laser cutter aside with a metallic clang. Let's hear about these delightful dens of depravity. Ace projected holographic images of the 3 warehouses, each suspended in the air around them like eerie specters. Warehouse 1 is located on Jedi Proxima. It's the least guarded based on the financials we've uncovered. Warehouse 2 is a floating facility near an asteroid belt in the Hasnanai system. Last and not sure if not least, Warehouse 3 is on the edge of a bustling city on Zorath. City life does sound appealing. Robert scratched his chin. But I suppose getting caught up in the local nightlife isn't exactly the point, eh? Indeed. Our primary goal is to gather evidence and leads on the crimes committed. Infiltrating any of these warehouses will require careful planning and precision. Right. Robert's eyes lingered on the warehouse's hologram on Zorath. All the more reason to pick the one with the party scene, am I right? He winked at Ace, but the AI's lack of facial features made it impossible to gauge his reaction. Your enthusiasm for justice is commendable, Ace deadpanned. But we must weigh our options with diligence and consider the consequences of our actions. Robert sighed again, rolling his eyes. Let's start with Warehouse 1. What's the plan? Ace began detailing their strategies while Robert continued to dig through the crates, occasionally tossing a piece of outdated equipment over his shoulder with a sarcastic remark. The two conversed in this manner, their banter filled with dark humor as they discussed the ins and outs of each warehouse, ever mindful of the task at hand. Amid their planning, a newfound determination settled in Robert's chest, a drive to expose corruption and bring those responsible to justice. And even though the odds were stacked against them, he knew they might stand a chance with Ace by his side. Robert scratched his chin, eyeing the holograms of the 3 warehouses. So let's break it down. Warehouse 1, heavily guarded but with a nice stash of evidence ripe for the picking. Warehouse 2 is less secure overall, but the risk of getting caught involves death. And Warehouse 3, on Zorath, with decent security and a potential gold mine of leads. Your summaries are as colorful as they are accurate. The sphere emitted a soft glow that seemed to imply amusement. All right. So let's start with Warehouse 1, Robert said, crossing his arms. Pros, a lot of evidence. Cons, the risk of getting our asses handed to us by an army of goons. Your vocabulary is inspiring. Now, Warehouse 2. Pros, weaker security. Cons, the aforementioned may-get-dead risk, which poses a significant threat to your continued existence. I definitely don't want to get dead, Robert quipped, smirking at Ace's joke. Ace emitted something akin to a sigh, though Robert couldn't be sure if it were genuine or programmed. Finally, Warehouse 3. Pros, valuable leads and manageable security. Cons, its remote location on Zorath makes extraction more difficult. Ah, Zorath. Robert tapped his fingers on a metal box. I hear the sunrises there are breathtaking, or would be, if we had time to enjoy them. Indeed. However, our focus must remain on gathering evidence and exposing the criminal activities occurring within these warehouses, Ace reminded him, the AI's voice taking on a serious tone. Right. So, Warehouse 3 on Zorath seems our best bet. Robert's expression turned determined, his eyes locked on the hologram of the warehouse. We need those leads, and I'm willing to take on the challenge if it means getting closer to the truth. Then our course is set. We shall infiltrate the warehouse on Zorath, gather as much information as possible, and get out. And by we mean you. Nice. Now all we need is a solid plan, some killer disguises, and maybe a hoverboard for a quick getaway. Robert was grinning, already preparing himself. Your unconventional ideas never cease to amaze me. From Ace's tone, it was unclear whether this was a compliment or a jab. But together, we shall devise a strategy that maximizes our chances of success. All righty then. Robert clapped his hands together. Let's get to work. Time to show these criminals what happens when you mess with Robert Fannec and his trusty orb sidekick. Please refrain from calling us an orb sidekick, Mr. Fannec. Our official title is Chief Executive Orb. Ace took on a corrective tone. But there was no denying that the AI's tone indicated it was playful banter. It was the type of interaction one found before engaging in dangerous activities. Robert stared at the holographic blueprint of the Zorath warehouse, projected in front of him like a three-dimensional spiderweb. The intricate layout pulsed with possibility as he imagined himself and Ace infiltrating the heart of the criminal operation. Mr. Fannec, Ace's soothing voice snapped Robert from his reverie. We propose entering through the maintenance system. It's a classic maneuver, but it's effective nonetheless. You will wear black suits and masks to blend into the shadows. The old sneak in like a ninja routine. Robert pictured himself somersaulting through the air with the grace of a panther. I like it. But how about we take it up a notch? What if we plant a repeater in there to get constant information? It's a wonderful investment for the future. An intriguing idea. However, allow us to elaborate on the potential risks associated with such an approach. As Ace detailed the technical difficulties and increased likelihood of detection, Robert envisioned himself attempting to install the repeater, only to have it explode like a faulty firecracker. All right, point taken, Robert conceded, rubbing the back of his neck sheepishly. We'll stick to your plan. Stealthy infiltration it is. Besides, who doesn't want to feel like some secret agent, uncovering the bad guy's deeds and stuff? Indeed, Mr. Fannec. We would venture that every man dreams of such exploits, Ace said, with the slightest hint of amusement coloring his otherwise unflappable tone. Hey, I may be inexperienced, but I learn fast. Robert crossed his arms over his chest. Inside, he couldn't ignore that sneaking through the dark, cramped vents and halls was exciting and scary. He felt a rush as he imagined slithering beneath the floor panels and peering through a grate into a room filled with important people discussing plans. Very well, Mr. Fannec. We shall proceed with the plan as discussed. Let us gather our equipment and attire and prepare for a unique experience. Unique? You mean potentially life-threatening? Robert quipped as he began inventorying their supplies with a newfound sense of purpose. Semantics. Robert shifted his weight from one foot to the other, his gaze drifting around their base within the facility as he considered the risks involved in their plan. Ace floated patiently by his side, the AI's soothing presence a welcome counterpoint to the mounting tension he felt in his chest. All right, Ace. We've got the basic plan down, but there are bound to be surprises once we're inside. He ran a hand through his hair. What if we trip an alarm or encounter armed guards? Ace emitted a soft hum as if contemplating the situation. Well, you run. I always knew you were good for something beyond snarky comments. Thank you for your vote of confidence. As for the potential of encountering armed personnel, we should familiarize ourselves with the facility's layout and identify potential escape routes and hiding spots. Sounds like a solid plan. Robert's expression turned serious. I'm not sure I'm up for this, Ace. I know someone should do something to stop these degenerate scum, but I don't think I'm the right person for the job. He felt the oppressive weight of his inadequacy, like a millstone around his neck, pressing deeper and deeper into his core with every breath he took. He looked down at the floor, despair etched in every line of his face. Mr. Fannec, we understand your concerns, but remember that you have already proven yourself to be resourceful and quick on your feet. It's why you're in the current situation. Even though this may be daunting, we believe you possess the necessary qualities to see it through. Thanks, Ace. Robert tried to let the AI's words sink in and bolster his flagging confidence. I hope we can pull this off without getting ourselves killed. We will do everything possible to minimize the risks and ensure a successful outcome. Besides, only you would die. We would be fine. Robert's jaw clenched, and he paced back and forth, his brow furrowed in concentration. Each pass of the room revealed more clearly that their task was next to impossible. But beyond doubt, it was a better fate than the cruelty looming on the horizon for those they could not save. An angry determination filled Robert's thoughts. All right, Ace, he said at last, squaring his shoulders and meeting the AI's gaze. Robert thought there was a front and back to the AI, given the orb would spin to face him. At least, that's how Robert thought of the front of Ace's sphere. Let's do this. Ace floated closer to Robert, his orb casting a soft glow in the dark room. We must remember that right now, neither of us knows who to trust to do anything about this situation. Our mission is to gather enough information to determine who we can pass it along to. Robert scratched his head, his fingers again raking through his hair as he considered Ace's words. The orb had a point, but it didn't make him feel more competent. Listen, Ace. His voice was laden with uncertainty. I understand the need for the information, but I'm not trained for this kind of thing. I'm a fugitive for crimes, some of which I actually committed. He let out a bitter laugh. Why can't someone else do this? Ace remained silent for a moment, as if pondering Robert's question. The room seemed to close around them, shadows stretching like dark fingers across the walls. Indeed, you are not a spy or a professional investigator, but you have proven capable of adapting to difficult situations. If there is a thing that needs to be done, and you're the only one who can do it, you must do it. Correct? Robert sighed, running a hand over his face as he struggled to accept what Ace told him. It wasn't like he had much choice after all. The burden of accountability settled on his shoulders, as heavy as a boulder. All right, Ace, he said, his voice tinged with resignation. But I swear, if we get blown up or something, I'm going to haunt you for eternity. Understood, Ace said, with a hint of amusement. We assure you, our survival is a top priority. Robert forced a smile. It died on his lips like a fly in winter, but it was a start. The clock was ticking, and lives were on the line. This was no time for doubt. Yet he felt a growing uneasiness, like an itch he couldn't scratch. Ace's calm voice cut through the tense silence, his words a salve to Robert's frayed nerves. Mr. Fannec, allow me to offer a metaphor. Imagine you are caught in a storm at sea. You didn't choose to be there, but now that you are, you must either sail through it or let the waves drag you under. Robert glanced at Ace's floating orb form and then back at the holographic projection of the warehouse on Zorath, feeling the enormity of their task weighing heavy in his chest. I get what you're saying, Ace, but I'm no sailor, and this storm is relentless. But as we've said before, there are two choices. Do nothing and let countless lives continue to suffer, or do this and give them a chance at freedom. You may not be a professional investigator, but your determination has brought us this far." As he listened to Ace's reasoning, Robert's gaze shifted from the hologram to the equipment scattered around their asteroid base. A flicker of resolve sparked within him, driving back the shadows of doubt. "Fine," he relented with a sigh. "We'll do this. It's not like I have much choice anyway." He rubbed at his tired eyes, the weight of sleepless nights pulling at him. "But maybe I should take a break from all this planning first. I feel like my brain's about to short-circuit." "An excellent idea," Ace said, a hint of concern lacing his usually composed tone. "Rest is essential for optimal cognitive function after all." "Awesome. Now you sound like one of those health gurus." Robert pushed himself up from his chair. Despite his sarcastic remark, he appreciated Ace's unwavering support. "All right," Ace conceded, his voice as even-tempered as ever. "Take a break, eat something in the galley, then walk around the ship bay and check on the modifications we've been making. I'll be here if you need me." "Thanks." "Of course." The AI drifted aside to give Robert space. Robert's footsteps echoed through the asteroid base's clean and empty corridors as he made his way to the galley. The narrow passageways closed in on him, a physical manifestation of the oppressive weight of responsibility that now rested on his shoulders. He had never felt so alone, yet so tethered to the fate of others. Entering the galley, he stared at the assortment of vacuum-sealed meal packets, stacked neatly beside the food rehydrator. Selecting one randomly, he tore open the package and dumped its contents into the machine. Moments later, a steaming plate of what vaguely resembled spaghetti materialized before him. "Bon appetit," he said dryly, forcing a forkful of noodles into his mouth. The flavors were there. A tangy tomato sauce, robust garlic, and hints of basil. But the enjoyment was absent, swallowed by the black hole of anxiety that gnawed at his insides. As he mechanically worked his way through the meal, his thoughts drifted back to the mission at hand. There was no evading it in the solitude of the galley. He could almost hear Ace's voice, urging him to stay focused and reminding him of the countless lives in the balance. "Damn it!" He shoved the now empty plate away. "I can't even eat in peace." Determined to find solace elsewhere, he left the galley and ventured to the ship bay. As he stood at the entrance, taking in the sight of their vessel undergoing modifications, his spirits lifted ever so slightly. He admitted, albeit begrudgingly, that it was impressive to watch robotic arms retrofitting their ship with technology. He hadn't the faintest idea of what it did. Robert walked around the expansive bay, studying the derelict hulks of other ships, once proud vessels of exploration or commerce, now reduced to skeletal remains, picked nearly clean by the robots collecting material for the modifications. He drew parallels between their fate and his own. A man who had fallen from grace, burdened with the knowledge he never asked for, and tasked with a mission he was ill-equipped to handle. "Thanks, universe." He kicked a stray bolt across the floor. "Really appreciate it." The metal clanging against the cold, hard surface echoed through the empty ship bay, leaving Robert to his thoughts and the ghosts of his past. His footsteps echoed through the ship bay as he approached the work in progress that was once an executive spacecraft. Now, it was transforming into a sleek vessel, the type he'd only ever seen in action movies and his wildest dreams. He looked over the sleek silver starship and felt a mixture of anticipation and fear bubbling up inside him. He knew this mission could be life-threatening, but he was ready to help those who needed it. Robert sighed and leaned against a railing, watching sparks fly as robotic arms welded new panels onto the hull. as the reality of his situation sunk in. Robert's thoughts wandered back to the events that brought him here. Who knew that one day I'd be stuck with an AI sidekick, running an asteroid base, neck deep in some intergalactic sentient trafficking conspiracy, he said, shaking his head. Could have stayed in my tiny apartment on Mool and watched crime dramas instead. Well, not in that apartment, but an apartment with roommates. His gaze lingered on the derelict ships scattered around the bay, their rusted husks casting eerie shadows along the walls. Robert felt a kinship with them, discarded remnants of a time when they were functional, intact, and whole. Guess we're all cosmic debris, huh? He muttered, absent-mindedly playing with his messy hair. As the minutes stretched into an hour, Robert continued to watch the impressive display of automated engineering before him, losing himself in the mesmerizing dance of the robotic arms. Mr. Fannec, Ace's gentle voice broke Robert from his trance, the AI orb floating beside him. He hadn't even noticed Ace's approach, so lost in thought he was. "Hey, Ace," he said, not bothering to correct the AI on the name. It wasn't worth it at the moment. "Your current situation is indeed less than ideal. However, you have an opportunity to help thousands of people that we know of." Robert's eyes drifted back to the nearly complete ship, taking in the sleek lines and advanced technology that now adorned it. He knew Ace was right, but the weight of the responsibility felt crushing all the same. "Thanks, Ace," he said, looking down at the cold metal floor. "I wish I had a clue how to do any of this. I feel like I'm in a situation I can't handle." "Even the mightiest ships start as mere blueprints," Ace said, with a hint of a smile. "No matter how things may seem for you, countless others need your help, who are far worse off than you." Robert nodded, understanding the gravity of their mission. He wasn't fighting for himself anymore. He was fighting for all those whose lives hung in the balance, depending on him to bring justice to this twisted corner of the universe. "All right, Ace," he said, straightening up and steeling himself for the task ahead. "Let's finish this plan and get to work. We've got shit to do." With newfound determination, Robert surveyed the ship bay around him. The ghostly whispers of long-forgotten vessels seemed to echo through the cavernous space. Their skeletal remains were a testament to the passage of time. He could almost feel the weight of history bearing down on him as he stood there, his breath fogging in the cold air. How's our modified beauty coming along? We should be ready for departure soon. In the meantime, we need to finalize our plan. Robert paced back and forth in front of the nearly completed ship. Its once dull exterior now gleamed with an array of high-tech modifications, giving it the appearance of a predator poised to strike. "So, we're going in through the ventilation system, using your hacking skills to disable security, and then what exactly?" "Locate any evidence that can help us bring those responsible for the trafficking ring to a satisfying end. Remember, our mission isn't about ending their operation, but saving lives." "Got it." His gaze lingered on the ship's winged emblem, symbolizing hope amidst the chaos. "Save the people, expose the corruption. Simple enough, right?" "Simple, perhaps, but difficult," Ace cautioned. "There will be risks involved, and we must be prepared for any eventuality." Robert breathed out audibly, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "I'm not expecting a walk in the park here, but if we can save even one person from that hell, it'll be worth it." "Indeed," Ace said. "Now let's review the plan's details one last time before we set off on our mission." Together, they pored over the intricacies of their scheme, their voices mingling with the hum of machinery as the ship continued its transformation. Robert felt a strange calm as he listened to Ace's methodical explanations and suggestions. No matter how daunting this task might be, he knew he wasn't facing it alone. All right, I think we've got a solid plan here. Let's do this thing. The human clapped his hands together. Very well. The orb's glow took on a faintly warm hue. Let us embark on this perilous journey, hand in metaphorical hand, and face whatever challenges lie ahead with courage and resolve. Hand in. Wait, you don't even have hands. True, Ace conceded with a hint of amusement. But I assure you that my support is no less steadfast for the lack of appendages. A smile played across his lips as he clapped his companion on the metaphorical shoulder. Let's go save some lives.